Still hands not too dirty, okay. See, I don't know what all them amateur. I'm just kidding, but I'm gonna finish the joke anyway. I don't know all them. I don't know what all them amateurs were doing out there when they was opening up their stuff. What's good, fam? It's me, Kadeja Allen Perry, your friendly neighborhood art supply hoarder, here today with the very first episode of Diary of an Art Supply Addict. In each episode, we'll be taking a close look into whatever art supply I recently splurged on, and I'll be giving my very bare bones first impressions of that art supply. When I say bare bones, I mean I won't be doing a full-on illustration with whatever the art supply is in this series. This series, as far as I'll go illustration-wise, will be some color swatches and maybe a quick little doodle. Full-on art demonstrations of the supplies will be done in the show that premieres next Thursday, demoed by Dazia. That's where you'll be able to see me create a full piece with whatever that month's art supply is. But for now, let's see what art supply we're getting addicted to this month. Okay. Big jalopy here. So, a little backstory. Within this past year, probably the past 2 years, but I didn't notice it until the year of 2020 when the pandemic and everything happened and I got really addicted to watching art YouTube videos. Everybody was talking about this thing called jelly gouache. I watched one video and then I watched 3 more videos and then I watched 10 more videos to the point where I don't even know how many I've watched so far because anytime it comes up, I watch it. Even if it's people's first impressions, even though I've probably seen hundreds of first impressions by now, I still watch it, even though I know exactly what it is and how it works. Well, I've seen how it works at least. I haven't used it myself. And because I hadn't used it myself, I figured, I should really go in and I should try this. I've watched all the videos. Obviously, it should come naturally to me. So let me get a jelly gouache set. And so around here, we don't do things small. Around here, we do things big. We go, from the window to the wall, just all in, all the time. So while the reviews that I watched on YouTube were typically people working with smaller palettes of like around 24 jelly gouache cups, I decided go big or go home. Window to the wall. So I got the 56 set. Yes, 56. I jumped from people's normal 24 set to 56 for my first impression of jelly gouache. Another disclaimer, I actually bought this around 5 months ago, but never had a chance to use it, and I didn't want to open it until I knew that I was going to use it, so I think I saved it for the right time. But all that talking out of the way, let's open this up, shall we? And see what 56 colors look like. Okay, yes. I understand that me opening this to reveal a bunch of white labels with red writing is very anticlimactic in a lot of ways. I understand this, but you have to see this in order to get to the goods, This is just the first impression. See, this is what they look like. They come in these little jelly cups that kind of look like pudding and just look overall delicious. Yes. So each of them come in the cup. And so what I'm going to do now is actually open all of these cups, and while I open these, I'll tell y'all what I have learned about jelly gouache so far in my YouTube hole falling expeditions about jelly gouache. So let's do it. Get all my supplies. Not that one. Okay. Okay, we are going to open from top to bottom, top to bottom. Okay, so the first thing you need to know is that people say that when you're opening these, it's a very messy experience. So I'm going to try to not be that messy. Okay, look at that. First one out the gate isn't that bad. Okay, so you see how there's residue on here on the label? What I've seen some people do, either they just throw the whole thing away. I don't have a ton on mine, to be honest, compared to other folks. Usually they just throw it away, or some folks have like wiped it into their sketchbook. And I could do the wiping in my sketchbook thing, but I still am not confident that I would get it all. So I'm going to try to scrape it off with this little rubber spatula. It's called a shaper tool. And I'm going to put it right back into the thing because, more is more is more, and less is not more. I see a little bit of oil, so this probably just needs to be mixed. And I'm not surprised that there's oil there considering how long I've had it. But seeing the oil sitting there makes me really glad that I didn't just open it up and like let it sit, not knowing when I was going to use them. I waited patiently. Okay, look at that. We just opened our first one and didn't make a mess. Let's see if we can keep that energy as we put it back in. Okay, yes, we are good. Cool. Next one. Like, see, look at that. Squish, 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 squish. Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty of what even is jelly gouache. But to understand what jelly gouache is, we first have to understand what gouache, the bare bones, where it all started. We got to understand what that is. So the first thing you need to know is that there are two kinds. You got your traditional gouache, which I figure jelly gouache falls under, and then you got the acrylic gouache. The biggest difference between the two is that traditional gouache, that regular degular stuff that we all know and love, that can be reactivated with water once it dries. But acrylic gouache, once that dries, I mean, you better kiss that color goodbye until you mix it again, to be perfectly honest. And let's just talk about what's special about gouache, not just the difference between those two, but what makes artists just love gouache. It's because gouache gives you the best of both worlds. Now we're talking about the regular degular gouache right now. That gives you the best of both worlds because it gives you the opacity that you want, need, and love about acrylic paint, while also, like I said, being able to be reactivated like the watercolor paint that we know and love. That means we really don't have to waste any gouache paint. Let it dry up on your palette, and who knows, a year later, probably even a year later, yeah, I'm confidently saying a year later, if you see a little speck of it, if you see a little dried puddle of it on your palette because you're gross like that and you don't clean your things, if you see that, you can just spritz with some water and use that color all over again with your gross self, not cleaning your palette after a year. You really need to do better with that. But hey, that's why gouache, the regular degular, the traditional gouache is here for you and it has your back. Usually gouache comes in tubes, but even if they dry out on your palette, like I said, you add some water and use it again. You don't have to worry about trying to stuff it back into the tube because guess what? That's not going to work. Please don't try. You'll end up wasting gouache paint when you really don't need to. Now, jelly gouache. Let's get into that jelly gouache specifically. Well, to start, the novelty of them being in these squishy cups is a huge selling point. But the unique quality a lot of people buy them for is that the sets of jelly gouache, they come in these airtight cases that are designed to keep the paints all nice and juicy and loosey and goosey, even if you don't use them every day or every week. Sure, they may start to dry some over time if you never use them, but the beauty of them being gouache is that they can always be reactivated and even get back to their original consistency. If you just gotta, you gotta put in that work. You gotta get that little toothpick and you gotta just, gotta be on your grind, getting it back to that juiciness. Oh my gosh, road to done. Oh yes, oh yes. Yes, we are done with that. Still hands not too dirty. Okay. See, I don't know what all them amateur. I'm just kidding, but I'm gonna finish the joke anyway. I don't know all them. I don't know what all them amateurs were doing out there when they was opening up their stuff. Like, I'm just kidding, but also low key not, because I saw some of them, like they were like digging their thumb in it as they opened it. Like, it looked like they weren't trying to not make a mess. It didn't look like they were trying to make a mess, but it didn't look like they were trying not to. It didn't look like that. I hope that statement made sense. Oily, oily. I'm gonna have to take a toothpick to get it right. Consistency is key. Look at that. See? That was an accident and I still didn't get messy. Okay, I low-key feel like folks were intentionally getting messy. Just a little bit. Just a little. Oh, baby. Ooh, just a little. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ooh, get that plastic. Girl, I don't want that plastic now. I don't want that plastic. This is a pinkety pink. This is a neon pinkety pinkety. Pink. Wow, that's a pink. But back to what I was saying before. Yeah, if you want to put in that work, you can do that. But if you don't want to put in that work, like a lot of folks don't, like myself, does not want to, all you got to do is, every week, every other week, you open up your jelly gouache and you give it a little spritzy spray all the little jelly cups with some water, and then close back the airtight case. And then they'll be ready and waiting when you are ready for them. Another dope thing is that jelly gouache sets in general come with so much paint at a much lower price point. Usually gouache comes in tubes of around 15 milliliters, and these cups each have like 30 milliliters of paint in them. So that's a whole lot of paint. And me with my 56 colors, that's a lot of milliliters of paint. Like 56 times 30, a lot of milliliters of paint. Now, folks really love getting this much because when you get double the paint for half the price, you can be so much less precious about it, which means you'll actually use these paints because you won't be worried about breaking your wallet. Another pro that I really haven't heard anybody else mention is that them coming in cups instead of the tubes that you got to squeeze the paint out of is so much more accessible for those who got dexterity problems like myself and my shaky hands. Tubes of paint can sometimes be the absolute worst. Ooh, that's a dark blue. That's a deep. See, I could go deep. That's a deep. Okay, see? This is what happens when you don't pay attention. See, that happened not by accident, but because, well, still by accident, but the accident happened because I was not focusing on what I was trying to do and my objective. I wasn't trying to not get messy. And that's what you got to be trying to do. You got to go in these with the intention of not getting messy. But as I was saying, this is a deep blue. It's a deep blue. That kind of deep. And of course, there are always some cons. Right off the bat, online, there's not a ton of info about these and the quality in which they are made and that they will last. So, a lot of folks suggest that you don't use these thinking that they are professional quality gouache. Because they don't know the light fastness information, which is basically how your piece and the colors will age over time when it's exposed to sunlight. So you probably won't want to sell original pieces to people because in like a year or two, they may look at you like, bro, all my colors is washed out. How am I gonna how am I out here paying for washed out colors? But you can scan them, make a print, and sell them. I think I'm gonna do that at some point. Okay, but the biggest con that you probably will come across if you get these and that I'm already contemplating, even though I have a ton of paint left, is that not all the jelly gouache sets out there, like my own, or specific colors, have options to buy single color refills. So basically, once you use up your favorite color, it's gone. And you're not going to have it again unless you buy the entire set. Yes, the set of paints in its entirety all over again. That means you'll have double the colors that are not your favorite, which, yeah, it's not the best. It's not my favorite thing about these, but I really think that the pros outweigh the cons because just double the paint for half the money. You had me. And then these cute little jelly cups. Pfft. Last row. 1, 2, 1, 2. Put your hands together because I thought you know. Panic. Help. Send help. Send it. So there are 2 titanium whites. We are only going to open one. That is another thing I have learned in my YouTube deep dive into jelly gouache. Boom. Boom, baby. Boom, baby. Quick hands check. I did not make it out unscathed. I don't think this is horrible. I feel like I have seen worse, but at the same time, I think I came for all those messy people way too quickly. Yeah. I was going to apologize, but I still think they was doing a lot. I feel like I want to take it out to really kind of... I didn't want to have to take them out again. Okay, we got to bring in the big guns. Yes, I'm talking about the toothpicks. Because, I tried with this palette knife. And all it is, just, it was too much. So, toothpicks it is because, oof. So now let's get into what I will be using these paints for. Now, I've seen a lot of artists online use these paints for studies. And studies are basically picking something specific like landscapes, portraits, or even more specifically, eyes, ears, and painting or drawing or whatever medium you use, using that medium to recreate that thing you're studying over and over and over and over so that you can develop your style with it, and it just becomes easier for you to draw or paint or whatever medium you're using overall. Like, it just becomes easier for you to recreate that. You're probably watching this thinking, wow, what an absolute waste of so many toothpicks. And you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. Does that mean I'm going to stop? Sadly, no. I swear I care about the environment. I care about the trees that were harmed in the making of these toothpicks. But I also care about my valuable, valuable time. That sounded a little ASMR-y. Yeah, I think this is my ASMR voice. You just kind of like talk, but just sort of talk a little bit with the air from your nose. And you don't speak at full volume or at full timbre or at full anything. You just sort of breathe and talk and breathe and then talk with your nose. Yes. What the heck? Oh, that's a ridge in there. Guess the ASMR is over. 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 Breathing. Oh my gosh. That's the third time I've stuck my finger in this specific color. Wow. Okay. I can officially apologize to all the folks who I said you weren't trying. While I still think you weren't trying to not be messy, I also can concede that accidents do happen, and they happen a lot. So I apologize for my rapid, all-consuming assumption. But that's not happening again. Not to me, not today, and not in that color. Okay, we are back. We are a little bit cleaner. And we don't really have a renowned sense of energy about each of these, but yeah, if I were to do this again, which I shouldn't have to ever because I got so many dang colors, I would mix them right. I would bring the toothpicks from the jump and mix them right after I open them. Yeah, that's, oh my God. At least it wasn't the burgundy, but still, I just washed my hands. I'm about to wash my hands of this. I don't know, but I know. Hey, I don't know, but I know more. I don't know why these paints hate me so much. I really don't know why they hate me so. I really don't. Wow, wow, wow. Oh my God, y'all. I am slowly, but absolutely surely starting to lose excitement for these paints because of this mess. Wow. I think that using these paints for studies will help me develop my art style further, as well as I've been really into reading about and learning about color theory. And I'd like to get more confident painting whole scenes, like with backgrounds that look lived in and have detail, like not just a person in a room sitting on a couch and maybe a lamp is thrown in there. I actually received some art books for Christmas this year, and the ones I got were specifically tailored to trying to make art a part of my everyday practice, as well as a couple tutorial gouache paint and watercolor paint books that literally have specific projects for you to do to get to know the medium. So I'm excited to try those, and I'm excited to just put those to work because I've been saying for years that I want to hunker down and put in the work to get better at specific art things, especially watercolor, gouache, acrylic painting. But like I said, I haven't put in that work, and I really want to start putting in that work. So hopefully I can put these books into practice. I know we're like a third of the way through the year, and I haven't done a ton of them yet, but I think that I could kick it into gear. I think that I can. And honestly, releasing this episode of Diary of an Art Supply Addict is step one to me getting my life back, because I'll have these things going and then can make time for just some free art time. Because I'm just always working on something, but I need some free art time, and I'm excited for that. Ooh, so close, but it feels so far, far away. Oh God, that was almost a disaster. Saw that little tip. It was almost a travesty. I probably would have cried. Oh, that was what was going to ruin my life. Oh, yes, I just ruined. I just ruined my life. Oh, yes, I did. I just ruined, ruined my life. Ruined, ruined my life. The devil is out to ruin my life. Oh, yes, he is. He's trying to ruin my life. Oh, yes, he is. Oh, yes, he is. Trying to ruin all the good things in my life. He's trying to ruin all the things in my life. Oh, yes, the devil is. That's what the devil does. He's trying to ruin all the good things in my life. In my life. But guess what? He won't prevail. No, he won't. Another artist that I watch on YouTube called The Average Artist has used jelly gouache for at least one of her comic zines. And I feel like that's so cool because the colors of gouache are just so vibrant and opaque, and just have a great texture to them. So I would love to use these at some point to make a comic book or a comic zine or just a zine. I've had a few comic book ideas floating around in my head for the last 2.5 years that I haven't really sat down to fully develop. And once I do, I could see these paints doing really well with those. Just the color is just so in your face and just exactly as exciting as you need it to be. Oh, we're just about finished. 'Cause we are just about finished. Oh, we are just about finished. And I was thinking of using watercolor for my comic ideas, but watercolor isn't always as vibrant. And I think that these would just be great, and the texture would just be great. So I'm here for trying that. I'm very, very here for trying that. As we wrap up with this endless, endless set of jelly gouache paints, I just wanted to remind you to, be kind and hit that like button. And then, while you're down there, hit that subscribe button. And then while you're in that area, hit that notification bell. That way, we can see each other. Yes, I appreciate you. There we go. Titanium, titanium, titanium white. Oh, righty then. Fine a friggin' That was a lot. Okay. Ooh, okay. We have all the colors mixed. Oh gosh. They look really pretty though. That was a pain in the behind to do all of that. But they look really pretty though. They look real pretty though. I must say that. Okay, obviously because that took so long, I will not be swatching this video. I will not be even attempting a little doodle this video. Y'all just gonna see these in action next week in the first episode of Demoed by Dazia, where I will be taking whatever that month's art supply is and making a full-on illustration with it. I really do think that I'm gonna try to follow the theme Candyland. Thank you for watching the very first episode of Diary of an Art Supply Addict. Yeah, okay. Didn't know where to go after that, but I guess bye.